The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Stage Door Show. Tonight, this is Dave Hondel. My guest is a wonderful singer-songwriter and accomplished guitarist out of Perth, Australia, who now is based out of Southern California. She has a new 11-track digital album out entitled Danni's Diamonds that you can check out at her website, DanniStefanetti.com. And we're excited to have her back on the show. Please welcome Danni Stefanetti. Thanks for coming back, Danni.
Thanks, Dave, for having me. It's great to be back. I know it's been about a month since
It's been about a month,
release.
yeah. And, in fact, you were recently with us, for those listeners out there that didn't catch it, promoting your wonderful duet with William Lee Golden of the legendary Oak Ridge Boys called I've Got My Heart on You. So how have you been since then?
I've been great. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. I just got back from Nashville and we did 1 week of press on the WSM Opry, our radio station, and local on 2 and Talk of the Town. So it was a bit of a wild week, and it was a lot of fun. So it's good, but it's good to be home. I'm back in the desert.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know that I was on your website because I know a lot of your new materials on there. And I mean, you do a great job with the website. And I just, again, for those listeners, check it out because, not only do you have samples of your new music on there, I mean, 11 new cuts, but Rock and Roll in My Soul, your new single, is also they can check out a sample of that as well on all streaming platforms, of course. And one thing I noticed on your website that when we see you on interviews or your music videos or talking to the camera, you can just see your passion for what you do. The love for what you do and the music and just, you just have fun doing it. And so talk about that passion that you have for your art. 'Cause I think a lot of times people treat it as almost like a job, but you can tell that you really enjoy what you do. And, just, it kind of exudes it from the screen. So talk about your passion for what you do.
Yeah, I've been doing it since I was 8 years old, and I really haven't it was kind of evident that that was going to be my life path. So it wasn't ever that I had a plan B, because I never did. It was music or nothing, really. So it was as soon as I picked up the guitar, I couldn't put it down, and it became like my comfort blanket. And singing, I had to sing because no one else would sing my original songs that I was writing at 8 and 9 years old. But my voice took a lot of time to develop, and it wasn't my strength until later on, after I turned about 18. But the guitar was once I found it, I became obsessed with records and learning riffs and pentatonic scales and going to guitar lessons, and anything to do with guitar, I was there. And it was definitely my whole childhood and teenage years was consumed with that. And I'm glad I found it so early, because it's taken me to America and all these adventures around the world. And every night I get to do what I love and get on stage and sing to people, and they give that back to me, So it is my job, but it doesn't feel like a job, because there's a side to it where there's the admin stuff and you got to book shows and all that kind of area of the music business. But the business side is a business, but the performing bit is the easiest part, because it's actually doing what I love, and that soul. I always come back from a gig and feel better than when I left. So that's a good job,
You can tell that. I mean, and the other thing that that kind of, I wanted to ask you this. Actually wanted to ask you last time, but when I found that when you were in Australia, I mean, you had a career in Australia that was on the rise itself, and you had a lot of radio play and you were doing a lot of shows, and then you made the move to the United States. And talk about that, because I've interviewed a lot of actresses and actors from Australia that actually end up making the move to Southern California eventually. And so, I guess first of all, how scary was that move? Because I mean, just moving down the street can be scary for somebody, but you're moving to another country. So talk about that move, and has it been, first of all, the challenge with it, but also has it been worth that challenge, I guess, to move to the United States, or at least, be based out of here right now?
Well, the first time I moved out of home was moving to Hollywood. So a bit of a shock, because coming from Perth, Australia, a very small town, where, you know, there's not a lot of cars on the road. It's quite a slow moving city, which is nice, the nice thing about it. But, you know, Hollywood is the big city. I mean, there's traffic galore. It's just insane, you know, you got to watch your bag and it's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that was where I first moved to California, West LA. And I really, you know, had a great year there, lots of shows and all. But, you know, I never thought I'd move there because it didn't seem like a city that I would really pick. First pick, my first pick was Nashville. But in saying that, I'm glad I did pick California because especially Hollywood, people are open to dressing you can wear whatever you want. You can be whatever genre you want to be, and you can make art, whether that's film, music, painting. And the people are very open and free-spirited in Hollywood. And I'm really glad that I had that culture. And I also love the culture in Nashville because I have a lot of good memories there. But I ended up moving to the desert. And my first year in LA, you know, just moving with 2 guitars and a suitcase, not really knowing what was going to happen, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. I left my support system, my family, my friends, everybody I knew. And sometimes you're like, am I going to be able to pay the rent this month? You know, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And with just a guitar, you know,
Yeah.
I don't have a high school like a college education.
Right.
So, you know, I literally have to survive on my musical ability. So you have to become a hustler. You have to go in and not wait on anybody. You have to go and get. If you want that festival, if you want that, you know, opportunity, you go get it. No one's going to knock at your door, especially when you got hundreds of thousands of other people that are trying to do it in the same city.
Yep.
So it definitely built my character and my confidence a bit because I was pretty shy when I first came because I was more relaxed in Perth mode.
Yeah, right.
But the desert is very comfortable for me because it feels a little bit more like home. So I really enjoyed that too. But the audiences, all in all, my first impression of the Hollywood and California audiences were extremely accepting of my music, and I actually found it a bit of relief because they loved me straight away and they really embraced what I did straight away. So I found that great, but I do treasure all those times I had in Australia gigging and doing all of that I did and building a career down there because none of that's for waste. And I had really great memories down there too. I
mean, paying your dues. I mean, it's definitely, you know, that's one of the things that we talked about, you know, independent artists that are, you know, that are emerging and going through the grind. And, you know, it's the same story. You know, it's like you go somewhere with a guitar with, you know, a couple bucks in your pocket and a dream and, you know, and if you work hard, you'll make it. I think the biggest advice that I would give somebody from all the interviews that I've done and listening to yourself and everybody else is don't quit. You know, enjoy what you do, because if you make it work, then it's not worth it. You have to make it that is something that you really want to do and that you would do for free, and you'll eventually get that, you know, the breaks. And speaking of which, I wanted to bring this up because, you know, being in Southern California and you know, also with William Lee Golden, and, you know, I was watching the video Elvira, the new 2024 version of it. And, you know, just, I really enjoyed that music video. It was amazing to see them all back together again. And unfortunately with Joe Bonsall, but passing away, unfortunately, it's a very sad moment, but I'm glad that he was able to do that project beforehand. And so talk about that project, working with those legendary, not only them, but Kid Rock was in it, Trace Atkins, and Big and Rich. I mean, who wasn't in that music video? It was awesome. Talk about that experience. That was cool.
So I happened to be in Nashville for only a couple of days, finishing up writing a song with William Lee Golden, and also there for the Josie Awards. And then William, you know, invited me to come on the shoot, including going on the tour bus to the set. And now, back when I first went to Nashville, they didn't have, you know, even on Broadway, they didn't have those 2-story, 3-story bars owned by all the country music stars. Like it wasn't quite like that before, but now they do. And one of the country stars owns a bar there, and it was like on the double story, and they had a whole music video shoot ready, and they chose me and 3 other younger up and coming artists to be on the stage to sing. It was like a fake karaoke bar.
Like karaoke, thing. Yeah.
So we had to act like we were singing to the guys, the Oak Ridge Boys. And, I was on the tour bus talking with Dwayne Allen, and Richard was in there, and William was getting ready for stage and in the mindset, ready for the shoot. And then I saw Joe, and that was one of the last times I got to see him, and he had such a good day. And I remember him saying, "Hey, Danny from Twitter, I love your new single." And he's a ray of sunshine. And then all these stars are walking into the shoot, and you got Kid Rock and Big and Rich, Trace Atkins, and then we went up to do the hair and makeup, and there was like a fruit salad upstairs and different things.
That's cool.
It was wild seeing all these familiar faces in country music.
Yeah, it's so cool to watch that. Everybody,
really
it goes on your website. You have the actual video that people can watch on there, so it's great.
That's right.
Yeah, and then let's talk about your 11-track digital album called Danny's Diamonds. Because I know Rock and Roll in My Soul, and there's a lot of great tracks on there. But talk about the making of that project, because I know listening to all the samples on there, I mean, they're just, every song has its own unique feel to it. So talk about the project and how did that come to be?
Yeah, so I co-produced that with my co-producer, Jeffrey Panzer, and I actually wrote 12 songs in 2 afternoons when I came back from Nashville, and they're completely more rock, pop. Even though I came back from country city, music city, it was like I was going to go in a bit of different direction and dress a little bit different, more rock and roll, and go back to what I was doing when I was 17. I was more doing that stuff. And anyway, all these songs started flowing out of me. I just pressed the voice memo, and the words, the guitar, and the whole songs were just writing themselves, basically.
Wow.
Within 4 minutes. I just had a song every 4 minutes all coming out. And they're all different styles, they're all rock leaning, but they all had their own
own feel to it. Yeah.
And anyway, after writing a couple, there was a few I ditched, but most of them I kept. And I was going to get, doing a budget to see if I should get session players and get a producer and do all that. And then we ended up, I had a microphone interface, ended up getting a laptop and learning. I spent hundreds of hours within 2 weeks learning how to produce it myself.
Wow.
And engineer and mix, and I learned how to, record myself. So I didn't have that pressure of paying for studio time and waiting on the bands and all that. I thought, I know how to play all the guitars, and I can figure out the drums and the bass and that. So and with technology these days, I was able to build with plugins and make everything I was hearing. Yeah. And it was a really fun project. And then Jeffrey's come from the Motown world with, Stevie Wonder and Wilson Phillips and a lot of hip hop artists, which I'm not hip hop, but
right.
So it came out in a couple of weeks, and we finished the album. I'm so proud of it. I mean,
well, you should be. It's amazing, and the fact that you just told me that you weren't in a studio with a producer, I mean, that blows me away even more. Sounded fantastic. I mean, it sounded amazing, and I've heard a lot of music over my years, and was definitely top notch stuff and well produced. So congratulations on that, because I know that's hard work. So congratulations on that. What I want to ask you is I believe your grandfather loved country music, correct? Mm-hmm. Is that kind of how you got the love of that kind of music as well?
Yeah, my grandparents were heavily into Dolly Parton and a lot of old classic country, but obviously a lot of Elvis Presley was with them. And then my dad was more into classic rock and blues. That's where I got that Peter Frampton, the Eagles kind of education. Sure. But it was my granddad gave me an old country classic book, and he said, "To our future recording artist," and he signed it back in 2000.
Wow.
And that, was amazing. He's no longer with us, but I do dedicate a couple of songs to my granddad. He did give me one of my earlier guitars, and he had the country music playing, he would sit out there in the backyard with his little stereo, and he would have country music on and listen to it. It was really beautiful.
That's really a great story. And, and I always looked up to my grandfather as well. And I think he was a big influence on me as well. So it's great to hear that story. I love stories like that. And, one of the things, talking about how you produced your own album and so forth, it brings me to the advice question, because I think, you kind of show right here that, anybody who's an independent artist can do this themselves if they just take the time to learn it. And, you did that. And so, talk about some advice that you would have for an up and coming artist or somebody just getting started that wants to do what you do. How I know you can't teach passion. That's one thing that you can't teach, but what are the things that I guess one of the main things that you would tell somebody how to get into this business, but do it the right way? How would you I guess explain that?
Well, you're going to have, especially when you're a child or a teenager, you're going to have a lot of people. You're still finding your style, your voice, your identity. So you're always going to have critics. You're always going to have people think they know what's best for you. But those years is the time to not judge yourself, but actually embrace maybe your quirks or your uniqueness or your faults, because you never know like how that can turn. Like I used to have crooked teeth and then they fixed them, but that could have been from other people's perception. I was never going to make it. So you just don't know what your future's going to look like. You got to do what you love and dedicate your time to it and learn from the greats. But take people's opinions, but still stay true to like where you are in the moment, because you can't predict the future. You just have to create the art, create the songs, and let it flow. Even if it's not the greatest song at the time, you don't know where you're going to end up in 10 years and how that's where that's going to take you. Because if I look back at some of my earlier work, there's some good stuff there, but there's some terrible stuff there. So
you evolve as a person and as an artist for sure, right?
Yeah, and surround yourself with people that encourage you and your biggest fans. And it's an industry, you get a lot of hard knocks, so you got to try and brush a lot of stuff off. And you got to be so persistent and resilient, because a lot of the music business is persistent.
Yeah.
If I said what, the feedback, the positives, the negatives I've been told from labels or people high up, and it's some of it's pretty funny now.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, the music industry is a good laugh. That's for sure. Like, especially like looking back, because I've been in it probably a decade or more. It's actually.
I know exactly what you mean.
I would say the music industry is pretty much like a circus.
Yeah, a circus is an understatement.
so yeah,
it's one of the reasons I have this show, to be honest with you. So because I try to make sense of that circus.
Yeah, when I was a teenager and even earlier on, I took it so seriously.
Yeah.
When I look back, I just laugh at some of the
it's a silliness. A lot of it's silliness, and honestly, the fact that you produced your own album and released your own album, that's honestly, I love that. I love that. I love it. I can't tell you how much I love it, because that just shows the industry that it's a level playing field now. It's not like it used to be. And, independent artists have just as big of an opportunity as somebody who's signed by a major label to get their music out there. Because it really is now. Anybody can download your music as much as they can a big artist, and they can enjoy it just as much or more. And I think it's great that we're finally at that level where artists can, like I said, do everything DIY and be just as successful, if not more. And you're benefiting, from it, as opposed to, a record executive getting the money in their pockets. I mean, you're getting the money in your pocket,
Basically, you go directly to the fans, directly to the venues, directly to the people.
Is the venues that you play? I mean, is there a venue out there that you really want to play? I mean, it's like a dream venue of yours. When it's all said and done, what kind of venue do you dream of playing out there, no matter where it is?
I did play at the to over 16,000 people, the capacity there at the tennis open here, the BNP tennis open at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, and that was amazing.
Wow.
I got to sing America the Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was, one of the biggest crowds I've sung to. And then I really want to one day play at the Acrisure Arena out here in Coachella Valley.
Oh,
yes,
wow. Yeah. Is that where Coachella is? Is that what, is that where they play that? Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if Coachella's there. I think that's at the Apollo.
Is it? Okay.
But it's close by. It's totally close by. The Acrisure Arena, they do ice hockey. They have a lot of big bands play there, famous acts. Yeah.
That would be really cool. One of the things I always wondered when somebody does America the Beautiful or United, or what they call it, the national anthem.
Yes.
I wonder if that would be, is it nerve-wracking to do something like that, to remember the words? And
because I only got told that afternoon, I got the invitation to do it. And I said, yes, I didn't know the song. I'm not American.
Wow, really? And you learned it that quick?
I learned it with the guitar and singing.
Wow.
And I got the words right, thank God, because there's no going back. Once you're in, you're all in. And if you miss one, you're screwed. I don't want to be one of the bloopers.
Wow, I can't believe you learned it that quick. That's amazing.
Thank God it worked out, because it was a huge opportunity. I didn't want to pass on it.
Yeah. When you walked on that tour bus with the Oak Ridge Boys, during that shoot, and one of the things that came to me as you were talking was, did you ever kind of have that thought when you walked on that tour bus, like, wow, this is my life, this is going to be my life going forward, and to see that tour bus and did you get any advice from guys like the Oak Ridge Boys or artists like that you run into? Do you ever get advice from them?
It was a big moment. It felt like a bit like a movie,
Yeah.
So it didn't really feel like I was there at moments. Kind of, looked up and looked at all of the whole day was a bit of a blur because it just goes so fast. And then you're in that moment. You've just jumped off a plane from California to Nashville, and then you're in a tour bus. You're in a movie set. You're seeing all these famous people that you've only seen in the magazines, and then I'm part of it.
Yeah. It's like surreal.
It was surreal. That's right. Yeah. It's still
when you were with William Lee Golden, did he ever give you any advice as a new artist from his years of experience?
Yeah, he gave me a lot of compliments and just encouraged me. He believes in me a lot, and he just thanked me so much for helping him with his song and being part of the project. He was so grateful for me doing it.
Yeah.
And he just, he's a big cheerleader of mine. So, I mean, what else can you ask for?
Right, for sure. Well, I can see why. You're amazing. Your talent is unbelievable. And, I was listening to you play guitar as well. Besides your great singing, I mean, your guitar playing is phenomenal. And, it's just, you can tell when somebody has that talent, that instrument, like a guitar is not easy to play or learn. And the fact that you can do it and sing at the same time is phenomenal as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's really, kudos to everything you're doing. And, when it's all said and done, Danni, what do you want your legacy to be?
I hope that my songs, even, if I'm not around anymore, people still listen to my songs and love them, and it encourages them and gives them hope and joy. And I hope it's, I believe songwriting is a gift we're given, and music is a gift. So I feel pretty blessed that I get to even share it with others, and that I've been gifted out of all the talents, music. And it's such a cool thing because music is so emotional, and it comes from the heart. So I hope that's what I leave for people, is the songs and the music.
It's amazing. Yeah, for sure. Well, you already are doing that. And, just like I said, everybody go to DanniStefanetti.com and check out her content. It's amazing content. Like I said, I just got lost in all the videos and the content, listening to the music. And like I said, very well done on there. And it has all the information that they could, look at and go to your social media and everything else that you have. So definitely check that out. And Danni, thank you so much again for coming back to the show. It's been great to have you back, and best of luck to you on your project, Danni's Diamonds, and I'm sure it's going to do very well. And can't wait to have you back again in the future. So you're always welcome back. So thanks again.
Thank you for having me, and you have a great rest of your evening. And it's always lovely to come back on your show.
Thank you so much, Danni.
Thank you.